After I found Jesus in terms of calling myself to live, calling myself to put aside self-destructive behavior, I started in college going back to church, and I found a community, and I loved this community, and I knew these people, and I heard their problems, and I shared my own. And I began to dream dreams about becoming a priest. I would have these dreams wherein I was at a huge banquet table, and there were men and women, but they were all priests. And I felt more okay than I had ever felt. And I woke up one morning, and I had this song in my head, and I kept singing it from The Color Purple. Maybe God is trying to tell you something. And being smart, because I was in Lubbock, Texas at the time, I decided to go to my cousin's house, because singing that way as a man in Lubbock, Texas doesn't get you very far. And I stopped off at a Taco Bell, and I was thinking about the priesthood, and I wanted to make the world a better place. And I was praying to God that it wouldn't mean the priesthood. I was enrolled in occupational and physical therapy classes, and I thought, I'm going to help people. But I didn't want to be a priest. I mean, priests have to get up early on Sunday mornings. Right? And, as my dad said, you won't get paid well. And I was contemplating this, thinking about what I should do or shouldn't do, feeling drawn toward love, but also dismissing that. And all of a sudden, this eventual pacifist experienced God as a swift blow to the back of my head. And a voice saying, "Shut up and listen to me." Which is to say, to remember who we were created to be, we sometimes have to shut up and listen for God. I don't know where I'm going, except for to Plano, Texas, this man right here. I don't know what I'm being called to do. I do know that when I graduated from seminary, I thought that I was going back to Oklahoma, and I had been raised in the ordination process to go back to Oklahoma and to try and mold and change the diocese around issues of sexuality. But as I was preparing for graduation, the limitations on that began to sink in. And they came back to me after a very contentious meeting and said that I was going to have to be celibate. Well, I thought about it, I prayed about it, I honestly did. And then I went and interviewed at a church in Tulsa, the only place that I was allowed to interview. Now, there were churches that I could have gone to that would have been more accepting. But at this church, I sat down with the vestry, and one of the vestry members said, "I am so glad that you're coming here as an out gay man, because we have 2 gay teenagers, and we can use you to teach them to be celibate for the rest of their lives." My body then, too, said, "Hella no." And I listened to that voice from God telling me, "Stop, put that down. No more knives." And I said no. And my process was put on hold. I was kicked out of the ordination process for a time. Eventually, I was reinstated because of some good women who stood up for me. And I found a place in Larchmont. And as I was going through that time there, I eventually wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to go back down south. If you didn't know, this whole thing almost never happened. I actually, 4 years into Larchmont, kept thinking I should go back down south. The person I was with at the time, his family was in Virginia, mine was in Oklahoma. We were only a year and a half out from 3 deaths in my family. And all of our vacation time was used visiting our family, and we thought, that's not a way to live. And so I felt the calling to go back down south, and I started interviewing and putting my resumes out to places in North Carolina and New Mexico, places I thought would be accepting of me, and the fact was no one even talked to me. And I finally got a real answer from someone in New Mexico who basically said, I have put everything on the line around issues of sexuality, this rector in Albuquerque. I put everything. I am blessing unions, and I know that I could get defrocked for that, but I can't bring you here. So I made an appointment at the Diocese of New York, and I went and sat with a vocational person. And we had a nice long conversation in which he told me that I should work at this church or that church or whatever. And then like in the last 5 minutes of an hour-long appointment, he said, oh, you know, this church is going live. That's what he said, live tomorrow. Maybe you should take a look at it. And it was your profile. And I went home and I read that. And I don't know why, but the words grounding sense of humor, we seek a rector with a grounding sense of humor. Does anyone know who came up with that verbiage? Ty? He's the one itching over there. Like. Well, that grabbed me. And at first, I went to my then partner and said, you know, I don't think I want to stay in New York, though. But he said, there's something here. This sounds like you. And so I applied, and then I came here. I mean, there were funny stories along the way. I mean, Ty could tell you a few, I'm sure, at the party. But I came here, and the point is, you loved me, and I loved you. And that this was real. And that this feeling is who we were created to be. This feeling of connection, here to here to here to here to here to here. It's what we are meant to be. Connected, grounded, loved, full of pride in ourselves. In so many ways, I grew into being a man here. Became a father. Which probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't move here. And now I'm going back down south. And I ask your prayers. I don't know what God is calling me to do, but I'm sure there'll be something. I don't know what God is calling you to be, but I'm sure it's going to be something. And I know, let me get a shout out to Laura in the back in the choir this morning. When I first interviewed here, well, actually, they came to me in Larchmont. Every conversation I had was about music. Because there were problems in the choir.
That was before me.
Yes. Exactly. I was going to clarify that. But the point is, what isn't working now is what gets to bloom next. So wait for it. Hope for it. We've had this bloom. There's going to be something else. So, every good television series ends in a montage. And I've got my own. Can you turn off that light? Yeah, make yourself comfortable. Come on out. This is obviously going to take a while because we have the world's slowest projection screen. Right? I mean, yeah. It'll get there. Okay, that's as good as it's going to get.